So here we go. It is now 4:30, and since it is 4:30 and we do have a quorum, can I confirm that on our record with Adriana, our staff? Yes? Okay, we do have a quorum, so I will call to order our reactivated Cultural Plan Committee of the Arts and Culture Advisory Commission. And today I will be standing in as chair for Vicki Meek, who is unable to attend in person, but she is, for our record, she is online. We have present Vicki Meek, Clyde Valentine, and myself. We're expecting one other commissioner, but since we have 3 of 5, we do have a quorum. So with that being the case, we're going to begin our agenda. And we have no voting items on today's agenda, as it has been a while since we have met. So we're going to go straight to our first briefing items. And the first briefing item on our agenda is the review of the amended Dallas Cultural Plan 2018, approved by City Council on December 10th, 2025. And that briefing will be conducted by our director, Martine Philippe, and Glenn Ayers, the assistant director. Martine.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be back together again. And Glenn and I just wanted to ensure that as we are moving forward from the omnibus approval in December, that we engage with this committee, not only to finalize the amended draft 2018 cultural plan, but to also separately chart our path forward as we look to the future as it relates to a strategic plan for our office. So Glenn and I will take some time to take a look back at what got us to the 2018 plan, what got us to and through the omnibus revisions related to our federal compliance efforts across the city. And then, of course, we'll move forward from there. So, Glenn, I'll hand it over to you to address the cultural plan timeline.
Sure thing. I believe most of us in the room were sort of around or an active participant in this process. But just as a summary, in 2017, the Office of Arts and Culture, at the time, I believe it was still the Office of Cultural Affairs, began a year-long process to engage over 9,000 residents across the city. I know that we had at least one touch point in every council district, but through 150 plus public committee and task force meetings. All of that feedback was distilled down into very specific sort of tasky initiatives, 137 initiatives. And those were sort of broadened into 31 larger strategies up into 6 main priorities, of course, which were equity, diversity, space, support for artists, a sustainable arts ecosystem, and communication. In 2018, as a part of that process too, the cultural plan helped inform an updated cultural policy, and both were unanimously passed by City Council on November 28, 2018, immediately after we began implementation of that plan. From 2018, at the very end, through 2024, the plan was designed to be a 7 to 10 year guiding document. It became our cornerstone of our operation. The biggest lens possible that we looked through, everything that we did needed to have sort of an asterisk and reference to the cultural plan. And so we did. In September 2024, Director Philippe showcased our work towards the plans, toward the plan and that progress at a State of the Arts event, which I believe Chair Meek was one of our panelists in that process. Yeah, that was a great day. It was a really fun event. And so, which was very anecdotal in its sort of presentation on purpose. It was meant to, I think, celebrate all the work that had been done on that plan and also engage those community members and task force members that were a part of it. Next slide, please. All right, March 25, 2025, we did a sort of a general strategy overview presented and briefed to the Quality of Life Arts and Culture Committee of Council, where we went through a little bit more nitty gritty and those very specific action items that we did per strategy, which are those broader 31 strategies. which was received quite well, I believe, if I recall from that committee. And then later that year, in June, we had our Federal Compliance Task Force was created to look at our city's policies, plans, and documents for continued compliance in response to federal directives. Throughout that summer, the city and that task force held community engagement sessions to receive feedback from residents and stakeholders. Just as a note that this engagement and the concerns of our community, of our arts ecosystem, and that was the feedback that we really received through one that was arts focused, and then the subsequent 4 or 5 that we had after. December 10th, City Council voted on an omnibus, which was a collect every department's is basically all of their plans, policies, programs to become legally resilient and find their way into compliance with those federal directives. In our scope, that included the cultural policy, the amended cultural plan, the FY 25-26 COP guidelines, CAP guidelines, and Arts Activate 26 guidelines. Next, please. All right. Do you want me to keep going, or you got this one?
Yeah, no, I'll
Great.
pause right there, just to share that as we move forward in the presentation, we're shifting gears to talk about the progress we've made on the strategies noted within the 2018 cultural plan, and to keep us focused on what's left of our plan as it relates to what was approved in the omnibus in December. We'll be talking about the 4 priorities noted. So in case you have questions about notes previously mentioned, obviously in our State of the Arts event, we were able to highlight all of the great work that has been accomplished, was in progress, etc. We're going to shift gears right now to talk about very specific strategies and really want to highlight and amplify the work that we have, that we're tasked with as we're looking forward. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm passing it back to Glenn.
Oh, okay.
Great. So this is an example of what we presented to the quality of life briefing back in March of 25. And we went through essentially every one of our 31 strategies, and they saw on the briefing the description of the strategy itself, and we've put on our actions, but we use those as sort of briefing notes, so we didn't crowd those slides, just as context. But here we have included them. This is, of course, not the totality of our work, but just simply calling out how we have engaged with each one of these strategies. And in this case, we're looking at the specific priorities that we have now with the amended cultural plan. Do you want me to read through all of these individually?
It's not necessary, no.
I'm happy to. I just didn't know if we want to sit here and read
No, but if
as
there's
I read off
anything,
the slide.
but if there's anything that you do want to highlight, feel free to do that.
I think really what we're showing here is even through all of the ups and downs with COVID and budgets and everything like that, we have really stuck to and used this plan as it was intended to make sure that all of our actions were aligned with what we were called to do by our engagement with our residents. And so these are simply just examples through that. I'm sure if you asked for another one, we could come up with it on the fly, but we just wanted to show the kind of work and remind that we've all done, you as commissioners and us as staff, and then our community members to really work on implementing this plan. And to show that, as Director Philippe mentioned, that it's really time to look forward and see how we go from here into whatever those next steps might be. So we have space, support for artists, sustainable arts ecosystem, and communication. What this also does with the amended plan, as we look at our conversations today, is that while we have addressed, this continues to provide us specific guidance. So we have these strategies, right, which are a little bit broader than those very specific initiatives, but it still gives us those what I would consider very task-oriented initiatives to continue to work on and meet if we hadn't yet, but we really have addressed the broad swath of this cultural plan.
Question, Glenn.
Yeah.
And so as we look at the progress reports for all of these different areas, these are actions that have been taken throughout the implementation of the plan up through 2025.
Yeah,
Okay.
year to date.
Okay.
And of course, like I said, non-exhaustive list.
Okay. And the next slide.
All right, so we'll be moving forward. Thank you, Chair. To give you an overview of the amended plan. And so you'll note, next slide, a summary. First, let me on the record note that in the email you received from Adriana with all of the meeting materials, you have access to the amended redlined version of the document, which is also a public record in the council materials for that December meeting as well. But just for your easy finding and access, that's where it's a very large file, of course. But if you want to see what passed via council action, you can review all of that information there. And take your time too as well, because we'll be working through the bounds of this committee, future meetings with that document. So don't feel like you need to read it in the 2 minutes that I'm going to take to speak here, if you haven't had time to review that.
And
So
I just want to
yes.
throw in, but this is the one that was circulated some time ago.
also, I believe it has
Yes,
been
it's not
circulated in the
just-
past as well.
Yes.
But just for easy finding, most recent, you'll see it linked in Adriana's email.
Okay.
Okay, so Glenn, you'll walk us through these edits.
Will do. All right. So the primary goal in this particular amended plan was to keep everything that maintained compliance with our federal directives and to continue giving staff the opportunity to document that guided us through particular priority strategies and initiatives. So that's where we started. As we reviewed the document, what we came to and saw as subject for removal were basically these sort of larger sections of the plan itself, which were the executive summary, a fact sheet, the introduction, and engaging Dallas, right? Which some of which provided context, and have spoken with Director Philippe about what that looks like moving forward. So this provided context for the plan as it was written originally. And so what you'll see in this is the remaining sections that discuss neighborhood typology. Oh, I think it's the next slide, isn't it? Great. So I'll wait for a second. And then additionally, you'll see the addition of a land acknowledgement and the history of the city of Dallas that was originally part of the racial equity plan added at the end. So that's a summary of this document. Next slide, please.
Just a question regarding this last, the additional land acknowledgement and the history of, as per the racial equity plan. Are you saying that that is still in the cultural plan, but it's at the end of the document, or it's also been redlined?
It has not been redlined. It was never a part of the original cultural plan. It was added as a part of this amended plan to maintain the work that was done behind those two documents.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. All right, summary of current content. We kept the neighborhood typology map, which is fantastic because it's also used most frequently for our Arts Activate application and scoring process. We took a deep dive into the evaluative criteria and what was used and assessed to make those typologies in that typology map and found that was in compliance, which is really wonderful. And then we maintained the priorities and then, of course, the subsequent strategies and initiatives of space, support for artists, sustainable arts ecosystem, and communication. So quite a bit still of that plan. Next, please. I'll make note, actually, since there are a few small revisions in a few of those initiatives that you'll see in the redline document itself, but it did not necessarily have a large swath removal, removal or red line of those. I'll just make note of that.
And so we want to, obviously, being that we serve under your advisement, open for some feedback that's, if I could direct the need, is twofold. One, see a red line document. What is it going to take for us to finalize that in its draft state, right? If you were tracking changes in any Word document, obviously those red line sections would be removed and you're left with the content noted. But we would still need to frame that content. We certainly want to preserve the essence of resident input, your input that shaped the 2018 cultural plan from its inception, while meeting and perhaps addressing federal requirements to get us through the remainder of the implementation phase of this 2018 plan. Need feedback on that. Secondly, and separately, your early thoughts, because I think we'll be talking about this as we continue to meet. What does it look like, timeline and action wise, to look forward at whatever's next, 3-year or a 5-year or another 10-year plan? What steps are we taking to get there? And what do you see as the best approach given current circumstances that have us here today? So those are two very separate but related, obviously, tracks. We're working with a document here that needs a little bit of attention, and then obviously some vision, some brainstorming around the vision for what's to come.
Okay, may I kind of lead a discussion here if we're through with that part, or did you want to continue?
I'm off.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then in order to lead this discussion and compare this to the actual cultural plan, and Commissioner Meek, of course. And let me say this. I do, for the record, want to point out that we have joining us Commissioner Curiel, who's also a member of this committee, as well as senior member Linda Blaze, Commissioner, and Commissioner Holomo. I'd just like to point out for our minutes that how hard our commissioners work in addition to what the committees they're supposed to show up to. But in any event, in looking at this, I want to go first to the summary of cultural plan edits that if we, Adriana, if we could go back to that slide. So when we look at the summary of cultural plan edits now, Commissioner Valentine and myself, we actually have the summary booklet of the actual plan. So when we look at these edits, and this is questions for Glenn and Martine. So when it says the executive summary, we will devise another executive summary. It'll pretty much follow the same format. Is that what the edit would be? That's a question.
So as I mentioned earlier, right, a part of this red line removed quite a bit of context for the plan itself. And so, yes, I think that a recommendation to provide new context for this red line document would be appropriate.
So the edit would not be the removal of an executive summary. It's just that the language in the executive summary will reflect compliance with what we believe is required in the new federal guidelines. Is that right?
Well, so red line document, as approved by council, removes those sections. And so it would be drafting, and it could still reference some information there, but it would be this committee's work to draft a new sort of executive summary or some kind of contextual document to precede the redlined plan.
Okay, so I invite discussion on that. I lean on Commissioner Meek.
Yeah, I have my vote. Yeah, Martine and I actually discussed this a bit, in the sense that if whatever we're doing moving forward, we really need to have, I think, and we can all discuss whether or not you all agree with this. I think we need to have some written context for even why we're doing something different now. Meaning some reference to the need to comply with new federal guidelines, et cetera, so that there's something that is sort of guiding us in this next step as we move to be in compliance. So something needs to be written that gives some context around the need to be in compliance.
Okay. I'll filling in as chair for you, Vicky, at the moment. I'll say, certainly I agree with that. This is not a voting agenda item, but I just felt like it's something that should be discussed as we continue to move forward. Commissioner Valentine, I would invite Commissioner Valentine and Commissioner Curiel to give your opinion on that.
Thank you, Chair. I agree, some contextualization in a revised executive summary would make sense. I also think an executive summary is purposeful and useful, as a part of a larger living document that, has proved foundational for the work that OSC has done over the last 10 years. So yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I just for clarity, because we, as advisors, we didn't have to, do the hard lifting of, reviewing this document with the legal department. The wholesale sort of red line of the executive summary, what was sort of the rationale behind that, knowing that some of these points are still really relevant to our work. So I'm just wondering, was that just like the easier thing to do?
I can sort of address that. So in the redlining of this, it was our work to not add or revise the document itself and its content, and so to maintain the integrity and the truth of what was originally written, right? And so going through and rewriting particular paragraphs or this, that, and whatever did not seem applicable to the way that we engage before we make such decisions. And so instead, the choice to redline through those sections to then move into what we're doing now, essentially.
Okay. Commissioner Curiel, do you have any comment?
Not right now.
Okay. Commissioners Holomo and Blaze. No comment?
I do, but
I
I
think-
was going to let Commissioner Blaze go first.
Oh,
Okay. Well, thank you. I think the way Vicky stated it was exactly right. I think we do need a written context around the need for compliance. Like, why are we doing this? So I agree. I think that we need to have something like an executive summary, if not a rewritten executive summary, to explain that, put it in context.
Commissioner Holomo.
Thank you. So yeah, I guess I'm coming very late to this conversation because I didn't know that City Council had already approved the red line version. When whatever we end up with, I would hope that it includes Chair Meeks' recommendation, but that we kind of go through the same lengths as we did the first time to make sure we get all the zip codes representation, make sure we get input and capture what we know might be at odds with federal compliance, for lack of a better word. Because again, this is the Dallas Cultural Plan based on artists, input, recommendations. What are the challenges that they're facing now? So I just want to be very mindful about those steps. Thank you.
Okay. And Commissioner Holomo, I would, yeah, I certainly agree with that. I think your comment goes more to process than the edits. But point well taken. The next thing on the edits was the fact sheet. And so in light of what you just said, Glenn, is the fact sheet also just to be removed? Is that or edited?
So as the red line document stands now, removed. And so a similar work or effort into creating a fact sheet around what is compliant in the plan seems in alignment to the conversations that are going on right now.
Okay. I guess before I pass to Commissioner Meek, as we look at the fact sheet, and if do you have a copy of the plan in front of you by any chance, commissioners?
No,
On-
I can't I can't get it. I don't have
Okay.
anything.
All right,
does.
Tino's
Tino.
our student.
Tino's got everything. He's a walking compendium of everything Office of Arts and Culture. But
It is my
if we
Bible.
could, if we could.
Mine too.
Okay, you're
Not
Catholic, man. Watch
electronically,
out.
I think if you.
If we're,
Adriana's able to.
Adriana can pull it up. If we could go to the fact sheet, just so we could, so
I
let
did-
Commissioner Curie,
did look at the fact sheet before, the material that I did look at it, so I know what's on it.
Adriana can pull it up for your,
pull it up
review
so we can have
on the screen.
a more exhaustive discussion.
And if I may, there is quite a bit of information on the fact sheet that's a summation of a lot of things that still exist in others, right? Like the description of a priority
Yeah.
that exists later, just as pointing out,
Okay.
But Adriana's pulling up the entirety of the cultural plan, of course, which is much longer than the summary booklet that y'all are
Yes.
referencing right
But
now.
if she could skip to the fact sheet on the summary. It's right after, there we go. Okay. So that information actually touches what Commissioner Holomo was discussing, and it goes to the process. The
Mhm.
process. And so, in light of that, is there any comment from from Commissioner Meek, you leading this discussion regarding the removal of the fact sheet? Is that
Well, I think I'm feeling about that the same way I'm feeling about the executive summary, is that it may be new facts, but there still should be something that gives us a snapshot of, what our tasks are, and who we're engaging in that conversation about the task. So I, like Clyde, was trying to figure out, were they suggesting that we not have these categories, or is it just the information contained within those categories current document are being redlined? And for any impending document, I would assume we would have to have something that gives us the bullet points on what it is that we're attempting to do, and what are the ways in which we're going to engage community in determining what those priorities now will be.
so? Commissioner, your comments.
Yes, so if this is about wordsmithing and revisiting this, this spread, right, which is 2 pages of a fact sheet, then I would make some recommendations for our consideration around obviously how we frame diversity and equity, since those are key words that are now, I understand, to be objectionable. So the health of our cultural ecosystem still, for me, falls under the first bullet under the priorities, or both, quite frankly, those first 2 bullets, just thinking about words. I don't know, because I'm not familiar with the guidelines that you all have had to navigate so arduously, to revisit this stuff. So I wouldn't want you to have to go back, but I just think that there can be, knowing that, again, this is foundational, sort of promoting the kaleidoscope of culture in Dallas, right? Trying to give you words, while striving to improve programming still seems like a key priority. And in fact, I can't believe it's been a decade, Chair, since, some of us have worked on this. And I know for a fact, just, from my own experiences, that there's a mushrooming of all kinds of cultural activities in our city at this point, an influx of individual artists. And there's still a lot of relevance with respect to this plan, and I believe the approach that you all are taking programmatically.
Commissioner Curio, if you have any comment.
I do not.
Okay, Commissioner Blade and Holomo.
I think Clyde just put it very well.
Okay. Commissioner Holomo.
Yeah, and I guess I'm to mention the process again. It's what's new. What are the new things that the artists community is going to mention or bring up in this process?
I agree. So my final comment on this, and looking at the fact sheet, and if we're talking about deleting all of it, with the exception of the like on the priority column, with the exception of the first two items, I don't see how anything else could possibly be objectionable under the new guidelines. Was there any discussion about that, or as to why they wanted to remove like everything?
So all of this is a summation and a fact sheet of the document in its entirety, which frequently and consistently states equity and diversity as key priorities, right?
Okay.
And so a lens through that as being as risk averse as possible.
Okay. Okay.
Is that making sense? So
Yes.
yeah,
So
so
then
yeah.
okay, so then my next question would be, is there, it kind of goes back to what Commissioner Valentine was stating, and wordsmithing it in such a way that we could deliver facts that support the need for a plan and still be in compliance. Yeah. For a revised fact sheet.
Yes, yes.
So that's
absolutely.
something for us to consider. Okay, as we go through, the next sections, and I'm skipping through the edits unless there was any other conversation there on the summary of the content.
That's current, so that's.
Yes, the current, okay. And basically, this is considered to be in compliance with the new guidelines. That's correct?
The red line document.
Yeah, the red line.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. If there's no other comment, like I said, this is not a voting agenda item. We can move down the agenda to the timeline and next steps.
Okay. Oh, so can we get back to our original presentation?
Yes, I'm sorry. I thought,
I'm waiting on Adriana to catch up, honestly.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Chair, I actually have another question for us. just
Okay.
Clarity, if this is okay before we move on. Yes, and that is Commissioner Holomo is, referring to process, right?
Yes.
And the process that gave shape to this plan, lasted, several months, required a extraordinary investment of resources, both time and money on the part of many people. We're not having that we're not talking about a new cultural plan per se. in investing in that level of process at this moment. We're talking about the refining of the existing plan.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to be clear about that. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Curiel.
I think I've heard a few times, and maybe I've misheard or misinterpreted the phrase or the statement that we need a new plan because we have met the requirements of the old one.
No,
No.
Okay.
Basically, yeah,
I would like for someone to rephrase that. So, because I would like to understand exactly why I'm misunderstanding that.
oh, okay. Yeah, we are, there are new federal guidelines that are causing us to revise the plan, and that's what we're doing.
it's a revision as opposed to a scrap it all and start again.
Correct.
Trying to take the existing plan and maintain its integrity while eliminating those aspects of it that would be out of compliance with the federal policies. So in a way, what Tide is talking about is quite appropriate in terms of it's almost like a wordsmithing situation in that we have to make sure that we are trying to maintain what we know needs to happen as far as the priorities for our artistic and cultural community without red flags that will have us out of compliance.
Yes. To make sure, in fact, yeah, all of the, in the fact sheet, it says to engage local artists and art cultural organizations, their leaders and supporters, as well as residents across all neighborhoods. So I think we can work within that broad confine. Yes, okay. Everybody's hands up. So let's go with Commissioner Blaze.
Okay, so going back to the priorities, I agree with you completely that space, support for artists, sustainable arts ecosystems, and communication is those are all priorities that we can keep, right?
Yes.
It would
So
it
why
would-
are we redlining those? Why are we not having on a fact list what our priorities are?
Well, we are looking at that, and once again, that's why we're here discussing it. That's why we're
Okay.
here discussing it.
Well, I vote to
Commissioner-
keep those things in and just
Okay.
cut equity and diversity because we have to.
Okay, Commissioner Holomo.
Thank you. So I thought this was a conversation about I think we had written in that we were supposed to revise, update every 10 years. So I didn't realize this was just to become federally compliant.
Yeah, that's what
Can
this
we not just present the red line and put a description that says this is for this plan to become federally compliant given the times, and then just leave it at that? Because this document exists. You can't deny it. It exists in its original form.
well,
Hey, I think we're entitled to a little bit more explanation than that. Commissioner Meek, I'll yield to you.
yeah, please. What you need to understand is that we have to do what we're doing because of what the city manager's office has made every department. So yes, it's a
I
plan.
know.
Many other people have plans, but everybody had to go through and adjust their plans. And what that's
I
essentially,
completely understand. I know because
we can't get around it. We can't just say, "Oh, we know that this is what's supposed to happen, but this is the plan." We can't do it. So we either are scrapping the whole plan or we're
Okay. All right. In fact, yeah, in response to Commissioner Holomo, yes, okay, we're going to move forward. Our director Philippe has will discuss our next steps, and I think that it's in line with what everyone is suggesting.
Okay, we're really grateful to get to engage with y'all on this. Believe me, I, I personally wish we could have months ago, but it's never too late, and we're grateful to again embark on this experience with you, so that we can incorporate your input and your feedback. So, as far as timeline and next steps, before I hit point one, the second half of the slide, you'll note. And this I think is responsive to you, Commissioner Curiel. This first step we're taking together is to clean up the document of its redlined components, incorporate the feedback you've started to give. I'm sure we'll get another round of feedback in the next time we're together. But matters such as a revised executive summary, a revised introduction, some semblance of setting the context for this mid-implementation phase shift, if you will. Noted, and we understand, and we'll be working to draft some of that for your review and consideration. On a second and separate track, this is 10 years of work, as Commissioner Valentin noted, a document that was not intended work that was not intended to live forever. It's a 10-year plan. So now we need to be looking forward anyway, regardless of if we went through this experience of federal compliance together or not, we'd actually be resuming this committee to discuss the launch of a new cultural planning process, because we were at the end of this road. We're technically 2 years out. And it's important to me to process, as Commissioner Holomo brought forward, but we have to plan to engage in that process with input from those of you who were not only present 10 years ago when you set out to create the 2018 plan and do all the community engagement sessions, et cetera, but to iterate and innovate and interrogate how best to get some of that work started as we're looking forward. So we have, again, 2 tasks here on our committee and staff together. So I hope that's a little bit of some clarity, Commissioner Curiel, and also ensuring, Commissioner Holomo, that you understand that we have sight of maintaining, our due diligence and community engagement related to our cultural planning processes each time we engage in the path to get there. But right now, the short term is get this document, current document, cleaned up so we can work with and from it for the remainder of said implementation phase, 2 years, two years-ish. So backwards now, 2.1, what do we want the cultural plan? Oh, you know what? Let me pause there in case there's any, because I'm shifting gears, so I don't want to overstep if there's any discussion on those points.
Commissioner Curiel?
Yeah, I'm just going to address the point I heard earlier. Sometimes it sounds like the phrasing, and since we are wordsmithing, I don't want to give the impression to anyone outside of our meetings or who might be listening or watching this later that we in any way, shape, or form are doing this because it's time. That's not why we're doing this. We're doing this because we're being forced to.
Point well taken.
Understood.
Point well
Understood.
taken.
Thank you.
Okay. Timeline.
Okay, yes. So number 1, at the top of the slide, what do we want the cultural plan meeting calendar to be? I can defer to the chair, Vicky Meek, around, in what was set previously, which was that we were meeting less frequently, but given the work ahead, I do want us to meet more frequently in regard to monthly versus every other month.
Let me comment on that before we pass to Commissioner Meek. As with all the other committees, and bringing forth recommendations to the full body of commissioners, I would really like to see this committee handle the heavy load of making these recommendations and providing the feedback. So of course, all commissioners are welcome to attend all committee meetings. But when we look at the calendar, now that the committee is reassembled and we see the task before us, we see the daunting task of going through those red lines and looking through all these elements. As we plan our calendar, I think it's, the first suggestion that says, one Thursday of each month seems quite reasonable. Allocations, annual report during the production of the annual report would meet monthly. And this is a pretty important task. And let me ask our director and assistant director, is there a deadline that we're expected to have these recommendations? When do they?
Not necessarily. And there are two specific reasons. One, is that if for those of you who were around and working closely with the city when the racial equity plan was formed, you'll note right now the city is amplifying our drivers of opportunity framework. And in a similar fashion, each department will be working closely with the internal developers of that framework to ensure that we have, if you will, department progress measures that are in tandem with that framework, which technically for us would be informed by the cultural plan. And so I see that it would behoove us to work on an abbreviated timeline like the annual report, committee does, where they're not meeting for 12 months of a fiscal year. They're meeting for a very specific window of time. And so I would appreciate us agreeing to work on this, take the next quarter, work on whatever revisions, incorporating the feedback we're receiving, letting you look at it, getting it to a place where we feel comfortable recommending it, settling on it and presenting it to the full body. But that to me, again, that is subject to your scheduling. Of course, we have other committees who are pumping out work on the allocation side. Obviously, on the PAC, we have PAC members here. So I want to be respective of all of the balls in the air. However, this does need to fit.
Two-part question, Director. First, the first part of the question is, considering everything that you said, is the May meeting too late for us to plan on making recommendations? No, that's the first question. And the second question is, as we meet and come up with recommendations, are we able to run them by Liz, by the city? Oh,
We certainly will be keeping our assistant city manager in the loop as we're moving through this document. Our assistant city manager is our fearless leader on the grant compliance task force as well. And not only our assistant city manager, but also our partners in the city attorney's office as well, to get it to a space where it can be recommended forward from this committee. So it won't be leaving this committee without support from staff, city manager's office and attorneys. So, back to May.
Or a recommendation, like before a fourth meeting of rec. That would give us 3 meetings of briefings, discussion, all of that. The fourth meeting would be May, right? February, March, April. Yes, counting. May would be that meeting for recommendation. So 4 months of work, 3 discuss, like 3.
and
Yeah.
my question is that too ambitious?
We can start with ambitious and move from there. I don't see why not. To reality, we'll see, right?
I believe we can.
Yeah, so is there a reason why we can't just say this is what we need and that's what we do?
That's why we're discussing it. I threw it out there as an idea and y'all can, so I'd like to get feedback.
I would prefer to have a deadline that is realistic.
That's what, great.
That's realistic, and that deadline is determined by staff, because you guys know what's involved with it, and we are not necessarily as informed as to the load that has to be carried. And most
I think,
load-
yeah, so we just talked around it, but essentially we've committed to being ready to present the document to the commission in your May meeting, the full body May meeting. So that gives this working.
March, April. We have 3 months.
Yes, so, and similar to the annual report committee, that's just, a lot of work and sending documents back and forth for review and edit, your feedback, suggested edits, that type of thing. So again, we're working with some meat already. There are some revisions that have been suggested. You have time to sit with what you've reviewed today. And if you had any other idea of something to incorporate, you would send that forward to staff. And so that as we're moving forward and planning our agendas, Chair Meek, you would note, let's say we have our February meeting coming up at end of February. By then, you might expect that we have a draft revised something or other that was suggested today. Perhaps we'd have a revised executive summary that you would have time to review, so we could discuss that at the February meeting. Or perhaps we'd have a revised fact sheet amplifying the 4 priorities, et cetera, that we would draft, share forward for review. We're in February meeting on discussion of that. Also, we would have a cleaned, at least bare bone version where now we're not looking anymore at red lines. We're looking at what's, the content
And so,
that needs to be dressed up. Again, this is almost identical to the annual report process as it's in draft form.
okay. So I want to really be clear with Commissioner Meek. This is your committee. Does that satisfy your timeline?
Well, I of course did not set up with the meeting every month, but I'll certainly get that on my. What?
We need you every month. I know you're busy.
No. I'm saying that because that's not what I had originally on my calendar. I'll just have to make I'll have to make that work is what I'm saying. So we would keep it on Thursday, right? Because I know I can't change it to another day.
That's what's proposed, if
Yeah.
everyone agrees. That's what we're discussing now. Is that okay?
I mean, I'll make it okay for me. I can't speak for Clyde and Tamitha, who are both on the committee officially.
Just, I'll make it work, and I think the cadence is very similar, if I'm not mistaken, to the annual report committee, which it's about 3 months. Yes.
6, but yeah.
But that's starting kind of from scratch a little bit.
Yes.
Right, collating information. This is a little less. I do have another clarifying question that has everything to do with timeline and scope of work. Will there be a redesign of any documentation, or whether we're printing or not, will there be any redesign needs?
I don't have.
Well, something Chair Meek and I had discussed, some of the elements that are not reflective of the current state of our office or the city, given opening remarks from former Mayor Rollins, former director of OCA, all of, we can also entertain with your advisement if you'd like to see those types of updates, given the fact that we're having to set the context and entertaining setting the context for these shifts at this stage of the implementation phase anyway. So we can.
And
Thank you.
I could comment on that a little bit, and because you're speaking after being on the annual report committee, and the reason design was so important was because we had a fresh group, and we wanted to make sure that the Office of Arts and Culture had the best looking annual report. So the design elements were very important. But here, if we've got a template, I think the crux of this project is the content of the document. So I don't know if design is equally as important as our annual report.
This is, important in terms of just the amount of work that the staff has to take on, in addition to this particular committee, around some of the editorial recommendations and changes. There's a template here ready.
So I went to go search to see if I had a template in whatever
TST
program,
files.
and I have not found one, but I
Okay.
can continue. I'd stopped searching because I didn't know what was going to go on, but I'll keep looking.
I might be able to be helpful there too as well.
Love that.
Okay.
Commissioner Holomo.
Thank you. I was curious if the city had a glossary or a list of terms that other departments have been using that was developed to kind of help navigate all of this. And if you do, can you share?
mean-
A glossary of, if you could be a little more specific,
I-
Commissioner Holomo, I could ensure
Sure.
if
For
there's
example,
such that we can get
equity,
it to you.
diversity.
Okay,
What are things
allow-
that you cannot use? What are things that you've been using already? Right? It might be good to pick up on some of the language the city's already established. And I didn't know if y'all had already created a useful document that you're sharing among city staff.
Inquiry received. We will follow up once we touch base with the Grant Compliance Task Force to note if they have a specific resource to share forward in that vein.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Moving along with the agenda, timeline and next steps. So I guess we need to confirm whether last Thursday of each month is workable. Let's get this one out of the way first.
I think we were just waiting from Tamitha. I didn't hear. whether or not-
Were you going to comment on your availability, Tamitha, Commissioner Curiel?
Thursdays will be the best for me. I usually don't. I try to reserve most of the Thursdays anyway for civic activities. So
Okay. So yeah, we can go ahead and say last Thursday of each month till May.
And so that the only commissioner left is Commissioner Pickens. Is that correct? So I guess we'll just need to, yes. So, but we're moving forward with a quorum and deciding that Thursday will be our meetings. And the last part, we already decided we're trying to get it done by May. Is that correct?
Yep.
Director?
Correct.
All right. Staff updates.
You have updates from the chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Meek.
I don't have any update.
Yep. Okay, okay.
I'm hoping
Staff
to
updates.
get back to Dallas. That's all I'm hoping. That's my update.
Please do. Yeah, we want you here.
Staff updates.
Yes.
My head is.
This is mostly just,
That's
we
tempting.
make sure we keep those.
Well,
informed.
I mean, staff updates and upcoming meetings and events. One, Adriana has an email out to the body related to our upcoming 214 day celebration, which is being held on Friday, February 13th, being that the 14th is a weekend. But we have an offering for you that you should note in the email that requires your response. So please respond to Adriana if you'd like to participate in said offering. And also, I wanted to, as far as the staff update is concerned, we do have a vacancy posted for the nighttime manager position of our nighttime division. That's new as of this week. And so I know your networks are vast and wide, so
Yeah,
please feel free.
Is that listed? I don't know.
Yeah,
Jeff.
posted. It's live. It's posted
Okay.
earlier maybe by 2 days.
Okay.
But that's the only staff facing update that I have.
All right. Next cultural plan committee, public art, February 3rd, and the full commission, February 19th.
February 26th will be the committee's meeting.
Okay, February 26th, as we've just decided, will be this committee. We've got one committee.
Allocations.
Oh,
is missing.
yeah, allocations.
Not meeting in February.
Doesn't, okay. Well, there we go. With all business having been conducted, this meeting of the Cultural Plan Committee of the Arts and Culture Advisory Commission is adjourned.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So,
At 5:29.